Today we descend into the starry night found beneath the world's surface as we enter the Siofra River, a land filled with many semi-corporeal beings like the energy balls that zap you, the ghosts of furries past, and the Ancestor Spirit whose head would look great mounted on my wall. The Siofra River is an early game area that's accessed by going down the Siofra River well in Mistwood and lies below the eternal city of Nokron. As such, it has its fair share of hidden gems, so why don't we head down and explore the source as I show you 5 things you missed in the Siofra River. You know what I and a mentally challenged child have in common? Other than the fact that I too am mentally challenged, we both love bubbles, and I, not once, have been allowed to kill people with bubbles before. Elden Ring makes this possible as it has a pair of sorceries that allow you to harness the power of bubbles, and they range from shit to actually pretty good in levels of usefulness. You not only need to have a Mensa level IQ to comprehend the bubbles, but you also must have knowledge of the arcane, like how the fuck damage scaling works. The Oracle Bubble spell and the Great Oracular Bubble spell are both dropped by teardrop scarabs found around the map. Oracle Bubbles is basically useless, but if you want it, you can get it by heading up the stairs from the first lift and then turning before you get to the second lift. Then you can jump and move across the top supports of this ruin and you'll find this teardrop scarab right down here. Great Oracular Bubble is found by using this waygate and then heading over here, and you'll find it in this room with a bunch of claymen. Unfortunately, there's no bubble blower staff to go with these SpongeBob ass spells. So of the two, the one that stands out is the Great Oracular Bubble, which is slow moving but can be used as a great starter spell for a fight as it moves slowly and does high damage, so you can cast multiple before switching and using quicker spells. At the beginning of the game, you start with a single Talisman slot, so it's a given that your choice is important. There are a lot of different choices, but there's a group of talisman that stand above the rest when it comes to the beginning of the game: the Scar Seals and the Sore Seals. They each provide differing levels of effects. Scar Seals provide 12 levels worth of skill points at the cost of taking 10% more damage, and Sore Seals provide 20 levels worth of skill points at the cost of taking 15% more damage. There are 2 different kinds that are each marked with different Elden runes. One's marked by Queen Marika, and the other ones are marked by King Consort Radagon. The one we are talking about is Marika's Scar Seal. You can find Marika's Scar Seal by heading over here to these ruins and then coming up to this waygate. Then you can just make your way around the Dragonkin Soldier and you'll find the talisman underneath the waterfall right here. Marika's Scar Seal gives you a buff of 3 in Mind, Intelligence, Faith, and Arcane, which is great towards the beginning of the game, but it loses its value as you get to higher levels. All about the Siofra River area, you find the ghosts of furries past, and they come in many different variations that use weapons such as axes, great hammers, and bows. You also probably noticed all the obelisks around the map, and you'll need to light each one of these so you can fight the Ancestor Spirit. After you defeat the Ancestor Spirit, you'll get the Ancestral Follower Ashes, which is your own personal ghost furry. It is specifically the bow variety, but it will use its axe if something gets too close. When the Ancestral Follower uses his bow, it's actually quite devastating as its attacks do massive poise damage and seemingly have infinite range. It has rather low HP as it's meant to be a long-range support summon, but it accounts for this as it has an additional ability that whenever it gets a kill, it will regain 20% of its health. The Ancestral Follower is one of the better generic summons in the game, even though he is scared of the 5G and fancy metal sticks. The square-off Ash of War seems useless at first because it's an ash that can only be used on straight swords, which most already come with square-off. It actually serves a very important purpose, and that has to do with the game's affinity system. When a weapon starts out, it has no affinity, which is statistically the worst possible option, but you can change the affinity by adding an Ash of War. But in this case, we don't want to change our Ash of War because Square Off is very good. So with this Ash of War, we'll be able to keep Square Off on our straight sword and add an affinity. You can find this Ash a bit north of the Worshipper Wood side of Grace or south of the Below the Well side of Grace, where it's dropped by a teardrop scarab. So go out there and poise break your way through the game, and leave a like if the poise break sound makes your trouser serpent happy. It always amazes me how many weapons there are in the game that I've just never used before, and most of them are drop weapons though, and getting them is like watching a movie in current year. Just 2 hours of pain followed by the disappointment of realizing that you can't get those 2 hours back. We find 3 drop weapons in Siofra River: the Jawbone Axe, Great Horn Hammer, and our item which breaks the figurative glass ceiling, the Clayman's Harpoon. It's dropped by the Clayman as you probably expected, but it's pretty rare with a 2% drop rate. The Clayman's Harpoon is unique in the fact that it's the only melee weapon that has split elements and can be infused. This fact provides some fun possibilities. You could use ashes such as Glintblade Phalanx, Hoarfrost Stomp, or in my opinion the best one, Ice Spear. You get Ice Spear from killing the Southern Liurnia Knights Cavalry, and adding it to this weapon makes it just really fun to use. And that concludes another part of my 5 things you missed in Elden Ring series. Let me know how many of these items you already knew about in the comment section, and if you'd like to see another video like this on a different location. But other than that, I want to thank you for watching and ask you to subscribe if you want to see more from me.